Hey, this is Sean Killian from Vio-Lence. You're listening to Sonic Perspectives.
Hi there, everybody. This is Jonathan with Sonic Perspectives, and I am here with the one and only Sean Killian of Vio-Lence, purveyor of the eternal nightmare, master of torture tactics, who's been oppressing the masses since 1986, even when there's nothing to gain. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing great. That was good, Jonathan. Thanks.
Thanks. You can tell I'm a bit of a super fan.
Right on. Thank you.
All right, no problem. So we got a new EP coming out here, and it's been over 30 years. So let's start off by dealing with what's going on now. And so, what prompted the reunion in 2019, and basically how things been going since then?
Well, I had my surgery for my liver transplant March 26th of 2018, and I laying there in the hospital. I was thinking to myself, because all the benefit shows that that were taking place, the Killian Command, there were some others in South America and elsewhere, and Phil put a golf tournament together and raised money to help with medical bills and to kind of keep my kids' lives normal while I was going through all that suffering. So I could only think of how could I repay people for all the efforts they put out to help me. And the only way I could think of was, going on stage again. At the time, Phil was in Machine Head, so I really didn't know, who I would get, but I knew I could get any of those Bay Area musicians that want to go up and be on stage for a Vio-Lence thrash show. But it just so happened Phil left Machine Head later, and he did a little stint with Slayer. And then when he was home, I sent him a text. It was in January 2019 saying, hey, let's do a show. And we got together and we rehearsed. Man, it must have been like 2.5-3 months for our April 13th and 14th shows at the Metro in Oakland. And that was in 2019. And we got a couple more people contacted us. Sacred Reich, we finished their tour with them, the last 2 shows, one in Hollywood, one in Mesa. So as we're in Mesa, Phil and I are kind of sitting there talking, and it was like, well, let's write some new music, and see how it goes. And, that's where we agreed on, well, let's just do a 4-song EP. And, I don't want to commit to, we just kind of were like, well, we haven't written in a long time. And so I didn't want to be committing to, we didn't want to commit to a big, 10, 12 song record deal where we would feel like kind of overwhelmed. So when COVID, we had a good year, 2019. We did a lot of shows here and there. And then 2020, we did the 70 Tons of Metal, and we did a little festival with Carcass and Power Trip and Razor in Dallas. And we had set up to go out again, and then COVID hit. So that whole time where people were kind of like locking themselves down, we were going to the studio and writing. And it was kind of like gave us the time to do what we needed to do. And, so as we wrote, it just kind of turned into 4 songs turned into 5 because we were kind of on a roll, So,
yeah,
and EP.
Awesome. And right before the EP was in the works, I think you also dropped a remake of a classic punk song in 2020 with a music video to go with it. Let's briefly cover that. So what was the catalyst behind selecting California Uber Alles, and what was the inspiration for the music video?
Well, we had planned on playing that song live in Oakland because we had a show booked there again at the Metro. And when all that stuff came down, we were writing, and then it was kind of like, well, we should do something, to put something out there. So we decided, well, let's do the California Uber Alles. And I mean, we're from California, so it's fitting. Some people commented about us sticking with the true lyrics, but people forget that Jerry Brown, he was governor twice in his state. And
yeah, you just mixed him by a couple of years the second time around.
Yeah, and the time that we decided on this, I think he was out of office maybe a year, maybe. And so to us, it was still fresh. But so anyway, we decided, let's stick with the original lyrics that Jello and Dead Kennedys put together. And but we just put our heavy violence down to it. And I mean, I've always kind of been like drawn to punk, and even back in the day, Nightmare, and it just seemed like if we do a cover song, we usually do a punk song. So it's not like we're out trying to do some metal tunes. Like in Brooklyn, we played "Living in the City" by Fear, you know, and then we were going to play "Dead Kenny California." So we try to you know, like theme it, you know, because we're in Brooklyn. And, you know, the song "Living in the City" by Fear from New Jersey, and bagging on, you know, New York, I guess you could say. But it just was fitting to play there. And because Saturday Night Live is filmed there in Brooklyn, too. And I think when Fear was on Saturday Night Live, I want to say they played that song. And I can't remember what other songs. But so, you know, we decided to play California. We're like, oh, okay, well, let's play California Uber. So when we do play cover songs, it's usually that kind of, that's kind of what's behind it, you know?
I gotcha. Yeah. Now, getting to the EP itself. Now, I actually did get a chance to hear it, and I'm friggin' blown away. I'm back in the Eternal Nightmare days when I'm listening to that sucker. And on top of that, you got Bobby Gustafson on there, and I actually knew about Overkill before I knew about you guys. I was like 9 years old when I saw the music video for "Hello from the Gutter," and so to me, this is like a match made in heaven. You working with him, so. Can you get into a little bit of the EP itself? Like, I know we got one song out right now, inspired, I think, by Vlad the Impaler, no less, right?
Just kind of that era, that period, you know, and he fits right in there. So you know, I studied him a lot, and it was just intriguing, you know, how he could go against so many and use fear as a tool to claim victory over his enemies. And also, you know, in Wallachia, where, you know, he ruled the town, and you know, just the tactics he used to keep people from, you know, being, you know, taking care of themselves, not stealing, contributing to society, and all of that, you know, through. It's like if you don't, you're going to get impaled. You know, that was
Believe it or not, I've actually been to Bram Castle. My ex-girlfriend she lives in Bucharest. I was there in 2013, and I read a little bit about it myself. One thing I want to compliment you on the cover art for the EP. The artist got it right on the impalement. It doesn't go through the abdomen; it goes, you know, through the rectum and out the mouth. And it was actually, believe it or not, the Germans actually originally developed that technique. And Vlad got that from the German population that was living in Transylvania at the time. That's where he learned it from.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, and the artwork, we wanted that look, and you know, I'd seen it before on, I think, Bram Stoker's Dracula in the opening scenes, and and so the artist Amory, he did a diorama, you know, and then took it to a studio where he took pictures of it and sent us that. And then my cousin Adam Lomberg, he did all the digital background for the artwork and the color and the mountains in the background. And so when you see it like on a big screen, like I have a large TV in my house, so when I saw the lyrical video, you can see the diorama stand out from the background art, you know. But when you see it just on a small, like a phone or something, it looks like it all blends in. Yeah. So I like it on the big screen because you get that texture, you know, that we were kind of looking for.
Absolutely.
It's you know, when we wrote this EP, it was kind of about, you know, when my approach to the lyrics was, well, I'm not going to compromise on anything, and I'm not going to hold anything back. I don't care if people get offended. I really don't care what they think, because it's like, I went through that with nothing to gain, where, you know, the grunge sound was coming in, and, you know, we had a lot of outside influences on that record, which was kind of disturbing, you know, because you sign with the label, they sign you, they think, you know, and you're like, okay, cool, they like us. And then second record with them, they always turn on you. That's why none of the records are on the same label, you know?
Yeah,
so
that's briefly, I actually wanted to get into that because I'm one of the few people out there who really like the Nothing to Gain album. And I had a couple questions. The first one was, when you were putting that album together, that album was recorded originally in, like, at some point in 1990, wasn't it? Or 91, somewhere around there?
I think 91, yeah. Yeah.
It didn't get released until 93. Did the label sabotage the release on you or something? Or?
Well, we recorded it for Megaforce, and then Megaforce, they just didn't want it. So then it was like, fine, just cut us loose and we'll go find someone else to sell, to get it out there through. So Phil found I can't remember the label he put it on. Is it Bleeding Heart Records or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And yeah, I think it's a great album. It's not as intense as the two before it, but interesting sense of melody. And I noticed that you evolved your vocal style a little bit on that one. It was a little bit more nuanced, not quite as overtly cut off your head and shit down your neck approach like the previous two.
Well, I think if I re-recorded it today, I would add a little bit more heaviness to it, in the vocals, and we probably would have went with Alex Perialis to work with. We had the choice, but the label really wanted us to use Michael Rosen. Alex is a free thinker like the rest of us, so on Oppressing the Masses, it was kind of a issue with Oppressing the Masses when we finished that's why Megaforce didn't want us to work with Alex, but we should have. I think we would have got a better product. And I like the music. Don't get me wrong. The music's really good. It's just that the whole mentality was different at that time.
Yeah, it sounded like the production at times was a little uneven too. I mean, the mix wasn't quite, it didn't have as much force to it. And especially when you get into slower and groovier territory with thrash, you really need that bottom end there in order to really nail it.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the things that set the album back. But yeah, as far as melody, lyrics, and the actual musical content, I loved the album. And I was probably the only person in high school at the time listening to it because everybody else was trying to push Kurt Cobain on me at the time.
Well, I did an interview yesterday, and that I forget the gentleman's name, but he was talking about how much he liked Nothing to Gain too, because it was different. And it still had that heavy sound, and
Yeah, it's gained a little bit of a cult following, and it was Bleeding Heart Records. I know that Pony Canyon picked it up for the Japanese distribution, and most of the people who have it probably got it imported from Japan through that label.
Sure.
Yeah.
But this record, dude, it's just like that was on this EP, Phil and I, that was our attitude, was like, we're just going hard and heavy on this, like Oppressing the Masses and Eternal Nightmare, but with our experiences, because Eternal Nightmare, I think I was 21 when I recorded that, and like Dean was like 18 or 17, and so now with all the digital tools and social media and everything else, that the industry's totally changed. And what's funny is we had two Matts, and he mixed the record. We recorded it with Juan Urtiaga at Trident Studios, and then he's gonna kill me. I forget his name. Did the mastering in Florida. So two's in, like, I think Norway or somewhere.
Okay.
So with today's technology, it went around the world, and then we would get a digital, a copy and listen and make comments. And we're, back in the day, you were like hovering over that board and listening to the, to the speakers in the room. Change it to those speakers. Change it to those speakers. It's a lot different now.
Yeah, I found the guy. The name on the EP's credits is Ted Jensen. Does that ring?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, he did some work with 3 Inches of Blood, and actually he worked on the two Alice in Chains comeback albums, Black of His Way to Blue and The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here. So he's got a pretty good resume here. I'm seeing a lot of current acts under his belt.
Yeah, Christian put that out there, and Phil, I guess, I don't know if Machine Head had worked with them before, but he knew of them too. So yeah.
Just wanted to actually back up a little bit and go into, because there was some in-between activity after Nothing to Gain finally got its release. I know that you guys split after that, and I think Phil and some of the others formed that short-lived project called Torque, I think it was. They were trying out the groove thing a little bit more, and I think, unfortunately, thrash metal was dead by 94. I remember, because I was getting ripped on like crazy when I was in 10th grade for still listening to it. Yeah, but so between like 93 and go ahead.
I wrote 3 songs on that record. Torque record.
Yeah, I to this day I haven't heard it, but it's probably floating around somewhere on the internet. But
It's out there.
yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, so I think there was a reunion in 2001 briefly. The only thing that came out of it was that I think there was a demo release in 2003. I was They Just Keep Killing, I think was what it was called.
Well, we got back together then because Chuck Billy, they had the benefit show at Thrash of the Titans because he had cancer at the time. He was going through chemo and he needed some help. And so we were part of that great show. I mean, it was Anthrax was there, MOD, SOD, I think Billy did a couple sets and a lot of Bay Area bands. And so then after we played that, we had a great response. That was 9 years since we had played. And then, so we played a club called Slim's in San Francisco. It sold out. And then we got a chance to go out with Overkill and Excel. And then we got a chance to go out with Testament and Rob Halford when he was doing his solo thing. But he played all Judas Priest songs, so it was awesome. So I got to Rob Halford and get a picture with him. I got that picture at home and get his autograph on it. Really nice guy.
Yeah,
but
I caught him back in 2000 in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we started to write music, and then Rob offered the job to Phil, for Machine Head, and so we kind of put it. He went out and did his thing, and when we got back together, we talked about there was those songs we wrote, and then the attitude was like, well, let's just move forward from here. Phil didn't want to go back and grab any of those riffs, and I agree with him, and I think it was a good call. And so on this EP, it was all about moving forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had that little stint.
Yeah, it was that was right around the time that at least in Europe and in parts of over here, both in North and South America, thrash was starting to make a little bit of a comeback around 2001, 2002, and it seemed like when I first heard about the reunion, I was thinking, all right, this is great. We're going to get another one of the old school guys back in there, but I guess better late than never, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's hot now.
Mm-hmm.
The thrash scene is hot.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing, we play shows. It's packed. It's always packed,
It's awesome. Yeah. So basically, I think we covered all the ground we're going to cover. I mean, I was going to ask. So basically, at this point, Rob Flynn, he's just doing Machine Head full time, and it was never even a question of him ever coming back into the Violence fold, right?
No, and he and Phil when Phil left the band, there was a riff there, and I'm cool with Rob. I mean, I dig the guy, and I dig Phil, and I mean, I would love to have Rob on stage for a show. I think he would have a good time, but whether that happens or not is not up to me.
I gotcha. Well, if this EP is any indication, I think you're going to be just as well off either way. I mean, this is really good stuff, and it's great to see Bobby Gustafson really back into thrash full force, because it's been a long time since the years of decay.
Yeah. And well, the great thing too about Bobby, he just fits right in with the rest of us. And, that's kind of why he and Perry had remained friends for a long time. And so when we decided to make a change, because we knew we were going to be recording, and Phil wanted that Godfather down picking and that muted sound. So that's why we got him in the band. And then Christian came along too, Christian Oldie Wolbers, and with his time at Fear Factory and the other things he's done, it was like, and he was a fan of Vio-Lence back in the Oppressing the Masses stint when he lived in Belgium. And so when he was with Machine Head, they toured with Fear Factory, I think, and he got to know Christian really well. And when we offered him an opportunity to come up and play with us, he jumped on it. And the dude's he's just a beast.
Oh yeah. All the fans should know that he was also in Asphyxia, which was a short-lived but very good thrash band out of Belgium, particularly the Anarchy demo from 1992, which is floating around YouTube. That's some expert work, so you definitely got a catch with him.
Yeah, well, the cool thing with it is he reflects back on that band is the band that taught him how to really hit those strings hard and do that down picking, and to watch him try to play some of these Vio-Lence riffs, it's like, dude, just break it down a little bit. I mean, because some of those riffs, man, I don't know how. I mean, when we wrote this, Phil would come in with these riffs, and we kind of put them together and assemble them, and create the songs that we, the bridges and everything else, and it was just kind of like, man, those are going to be a struggle live, some of them, and then Christian gets there with his big old thick bass strings, and it's like, how the fuck are you going to do this, dude? But he pulled it off. And he is a beast on those strings. He just beats those strings up.
Yeah. So any chance you guys are going to be hitting the East Coast once the EP's out and you start hitting the road, assuming all this shit calms down with the lockdowns?
Yeah. So we have right now, we're in May. We have a show in a hemp fest here in Turlock. We don't know who the headliner is. They're not going to tell us until it's time to announce the show, but someone big, and it's a hemp fest. So you start wondering, okay, who's associated with hemp? Well, these days it's kind of mostly everybody. So, but, and then we go to do the Oblivion Access Festival. And then we go from there to Chicago to Boston to, I want to say Brooklyn to Philly, and then Philly to Maryland for the Maryland Death Fest. And we do those shows with Coroner.
Nice. Yeah, I'll probably catch you either in Maryland or Philly, but if need be, I'll make the trek up to New York. It's not that bad of a drive from here, but parking's a little nightmare up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny too, because when you tour, it's like, oh, I love the East Coast, because everything's so close. Because, man, when you start getting out across the country, your 3 hour trips turn into 8 hours, 10 hours. From here to LA is about 6 hours.
Yeah, Pennsylvania, if you're going east to west, it's kind of like that. Between here and Pittsburgh, there's a whole lot of nothing for about 6.5 hours.
Yeah. What's funny is when we were in Belgium and I was talking to some people, and they're like, oh man, we drove all the way across the country to be here. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, that's a big feat, because I live in America and it's so freaking big. And they're like, yeah, it took us about an hour and a half. It'd be like, dude, that's how long it takes me to get to practice.
Yeah.
Hour and a half is nothing over here.
Yeah. I think that was my trek back when I was in an Iron Maiden tribute band, and I had to commute almost like that for a while. I was doing all Dave Murray's parts.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a problem with the drummer getting high and fucking up live all the time, though. So that's why it didn't last.
That could be a problem.
Yeah,
especially when you depend.
Yeah, we told him, get high after the show. All right, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right.
Musicians are musicians.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we covered pretty much everything here. So any final thoughts you want to give the fans before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just keep your eyes open. We got a video coming out. The label's trying to get it out today. And then, we'll be announcing more shows coming up here. We didn't really want to jump on anything early. We just kind of wanted the EP to come out and see what opportunities came. But yeah, we'll be over there on the East Coast. We got some other shows that we're working on, and can't wait to see you guys live, and have you come out and have a good old time. In Vio-Lence, it's like when you come see the band, it's a crowd participation event. So I think I've been bowled over a few times since we got that together. Yeah. Some dude knocked me right on my face, but that's my fault. I like to get up in everyone's face. So if we're in a club and you're there, come up front so I can get in your face and scream these crazy lyrics to you.
Right. Perfect hearings are overrated anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Sean, and I'll hopefully catch you on the road at some point soon.
Thanks, Jonathan. You have a good night.
All right. You too.
Later.